to send some meat out in front of the masses to explain this Mookie Betts thing. And so they sent out their chief baseball officer. Now, I don't know what that title means, but things in sports are changing. Like, I don't totally understand this chief of staff thing that the Cleveland Browns are doing, and the University of Miami just hired Ed Reed to be a chief of staff.
The Red Sox sent out their CBO.
They sent out their chief baseball officer, and his name, and he looks like his name, okay? His name is Chaim, Chaim, Bloom.
White guys! White!
Chaim Bloom came out. That poor guy had to explain to Boston Red Sox fans who are wondering why it is that they've traded their best position player since Ted Williams over monetary concerns, and that guy is the guy who had to come out in front of people. Now, that doesn't mean he's their general manager, right? Does it?
It's pronounced Chaim.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
No, he's their CBO, Dan, not their GM.
So it's Chaim Bloom.
Yep, that's a fine.
Regardless, is it a fine? Yeah, it probably should be a fine.
What'd you call him?
Chaim is what I called him.
Chaim.
Go ahead and put it on the poll, Guillermo. Did you know the C in Chaim was silent and was a Chaim? I did not know that is how that was spelled.
It's like Hanukkah.
Thank you, Stugotz. I appreciate it. Thanks for all your help there.
You got it.
What do these chief of staffs do? Can someone explain it to me? Like, does Ed Reed
for Miami?
Well, the one in Cleveland and the one in Miami.
Cleveland has one?
I believe the Cleveland Browns just hired a chief of staff.
I know they were trying to take Alonzo Highsmith, who was working with the Cleveland Browns at the time as a chief of staff. But what Ed Reed is in charge of at the University of Miami is bringing the program back. And he did that already. Recruited the number one safety in the nation. Someone from Florida. How about that? Use back. Excellent chief of staff.
Can we look this up for a second? Because it would be surprising to me if I knew something about the Cleveland Browns that you did not know, which I thought they just did as part of their front office overhaul as they've gone back and forth between, we're going to be football guys, we're going to be numbers guys. They're back on numbers guys, and I thought they hired a chief of staff.
No, they did. You were absolutely right. They hired Callie Brownson.
Callie.
White guys! White!
What's his responsibilities, though? Like, does the coach answer to him? Does he answer to the coach, GM? Like, what's the org chart here?
At the University of Miami, it's murky. In fact, neither Manny Diaz nor Ed Reed really understand how much recruiting Ed Reed can do.
Where should the chief of staff be on the org chart? Because
should be above the head coach and below the athletic director, but Manny Diaz specifically has contract language dictating that you can't really have someone ahead of him that isn't Blake James.
Callie Brownson is a woman.
Mike Ryan sent me what can only be described as ghetto marketing by the University of Miami as they tried to fire Blake James, the athletic director, with a truck, a jalopy that was just making its way through the streets. And it was out of the flea market. Mike, it's the most poorly run, it's the biggest waste of money I've ever seen, and it's the most poorly run campaign I've ever seen, where just driving down a side street in Miami is a truck that has some graphics, I suppose I'll say, that tells people to fire athletic director Blake James.
That is a hefty fine I need to pay for white guys.
Yes, you totally need to pay. What is that fine?
Just going off a name alone.
Okay.
Callie Brownson.
What'd you pay for Chaim? I mean,
Callie's a woman's name, by the way.
I put $1 out
I thought
there
it was
for
like
Chaim.
California. I don't know what I was doing.
All right, go sit in the penalty box for 2 minutes.
Well deserved.
Feel free to get out of here. I should probably sit with you. I want to know what did you think when you drove past that truck and the marketing was fire Blake James and they can't even afford a banner to fly behind a plane? It's just a truck making its way down an alley.
Yeah, well, it wasn't down an alley. It was on US 1, so I think it's just circling the campus. But, yeah, not effective, really. He's going to stick around. I'm going to go to the penalty box.
Okay, see ya. I am fascinated by this chief of staff. Like, chief of staff or head coach? Who are you listening to first? The chief of staff sounds bigger. It does.
Well, but I don't even understand what it means, is what I'm saying. If you're the chief of staff, the coach is on the staff, isn't he? Isn't the coach a part of the staff? It's your coaching staff.
Right,
So,
you're his chief.
I mean, that's what it feels like.
The head of the police is the chief of police, right? So that's like the top, I think.
So Ed Reed is running the University of Miami's football program? I'm fine with that, by the way. He should be, but is that the deal? He's in charge?
If it was a police department.
Oh.
But it's a football program, so I don't know. You want me to leave too? I'll just go.
Dan LeBatard.
For the audience of Charlie Weiss showering. And you said Charlie Weiss can only shower by himself. It's one of the best jokes Stugotz has ever delivered.
He's a loofah guy, probably.
This is the Dan LeBatard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Small business protection just got easier with more than 30 coverage options available. Progressive has you covered. More at progressivecommercial.com. Diana Rossini, 30 minutes from now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Little hiccup there, sorry.
You're doing great. The rest is easy. Yeah, keep reading.
Voice sounds better, huh?
Yeah. No pressure.
Yeah.
I mean,
You do this
man,
perfectly.
did I rest it? Here's your SportsCenter update. Tamika Catchings, Lauren Jackson, and Swin Cash will be among those inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame on June 13th. In the XFL, the LA Wildcats have fired defensive coordinator Pepper Johnson.
That's funny. That's amazing. How is that possible?
One game.
One game. How bad was it?
I mean, P.J. Walker tore him up. Lead dog in the MVP race.
They lost 37-17 to the Houston Roughnecks.
Walker looks like he can take the step to the NFL. Honestly. Did you see some of the darts he was throwing out there?
He was throwing darts, right?
The names of the XFL teams are better than the NFL names. Roughnecks, Battlehawks. They're good
Thank
names.
you for coming around.
They're good names.
You got to see the seam route that Walker threw. That's
Right.
an NFL throw. Pro throw.
Right. But it wasn't thrown in the NFL. I have a different outcome.
It wasn't thrown in the NFL. That's true.
And finally, a New Jersey woman is suing TripAdvisor after she was flung to the ground while riding a camel during a tour in Morocco. SportsCenter brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. Think ahead, think advance. At any time, 1 of 4 batteries is about to fail. Get a free battery test and free installation with any automotive battery purchase only at Advance Auto Parts. For all the latest headlines and information, tune to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. If Jesus were alive today, would he look like Jason Momoa? This is a conversation that broke out during the break. One of the participants said, not for air, not for air, not for air, because he's afraid of all Jesus-related content and also just always afraid. So,
Roy?
what ended up happening after that is Roy was incredulous. Roy didn't understand why we kept giving Jesus 6-pack abs if he were alive today.
Yeah, Jesus is a linebacker right now, huh?
And Billy was saying, for reasons I can't totally discern, how many followers do you think Jesus would have today on Instagram?
Probably a lot, right? You would think a lot.
I mean, one would.
Because even people would hate follow him, right?
Well, but he's got to have the resume of Jesus. He can't be like what Jesus was back when Jesus was Jesus, which is just claiming something and then he was crucified because not enough people believed him.
Probably not as many as Taylor Swift.
Duh, obviously, says Billy. Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Who would have more followers on Instagram today, Jesus Christ or Taylor Swift? Why did we make him look like Jason Momoa? Is it because all the
renderings? I mean,
well, but the renderings aren't that beautiful. The renderings aren't that perfect of Jesus. I don't think that Jesus was viewed as somebody who was classically handsome. I don't believe that Jesus was beefcake. I'm not saying he was ugly. Do not put that on me. Do not call me a blasphemer. I'm not saying he was ugly. I just don't think we were talking about models. We were talking about Charlie Whitehurst and whoever it is that, quarterbacking the Renegades.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who find Jesus attractive, Dan.
Okay, but I'm not saying he's not attractive. I'm just saying he's not Instagram underwear model. I'm saying he's not Instagram underwear model, and you guys are making him Jason Momoa. Jason Momoa is one of those people that people remember where they were when they saw him for the first time.
So is Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you know? Right. I mean, when's the last time you looked at Jesus? I mean, honestly, I
think you want to just sit out this entire conversation.
I've got him
a simple question.
I've got him looking more like Idris Elba.
Yes. That's a good one. I like that.
Really? Yeah, that's interesting. Is Idris Elba indeed going to be the next 007? What's the word on that? What happened, Billy?
How long have we been hearing that for? Let's make it happen already.
Transition.
Like
Solid
10
pivot.
years.
Well, Dan. Really?
Oh, a fresh batch of questions.
Jason Momoa's first name is
Joe
Momoa wouldn't work.
Joe Christ.
Put it on the poll. Would you think Jason Momoa were handsome and famous and popular if his name was Joe?
Momoa.
Would you go streaking across a football field during a game for $1 million, knowing there's a 50-50 chance you'll get arrested for indecent exposure?
Oh.
Yes.
Well, I feel like in our line of work, it's more than 50-50 that I'd get fired. Is it?
No, you'd get fired.
Right.
Yes, if you were arrested for, right? If any of us were arrested.
I just explained what's on the line. Yeah, I did it because there's how much? $500,000?
$1 million is a lot of money.
I did it for $1 million.
That's a lot of
Dan
money.
told me to do it.
I think a lot of people.
Right.
I think a lot of people would do it.
I'm on the fence on that.
People do it for free all the time.
People do it for the attention, like that drunk guy at the XFL game.
Yeah.
That guy. Whew.
I thought the same thing. He was flopping around.
Impressive.
It was impossible not to notice. It was impossible not to notice that guy. In fact, I thought he had a prosthetic. I'm like, I thought that's something that he's doing to be funny. Like in fact, you need to look it up right now if you don't mind, Chris, even though you might get fired for this as well. Look up that guy and you tell me whether that was a prosthetic or not. Because I legitimately thought that the way that guy left the field, because his arms were so far behind his back, because he was jutting out his pelvis the way that he was, I thought that he was doing something to be funny there. I did not think that was real. I thought that was fake. I didn't think that you got the magic creative content has taken us from Jesus to the size of this guy's endowment. Don't blame that on me. I didn't do that.
It's a hell of a segment, man.
It's either real or he's trying to smuggle like a...
Oh, wow. The rare double magic great.
I'm so interested in what it is you had him smuggling. $1 million. I feel like almost anybody would do that for $1 million, except extraordinarily rich people. A lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yep. Only had a rich person to ask. Dan?
It would end up costing me more than $1 million because I would lose my job instantaneously, wouldn't I? Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. At LeBatard Show. Put it on the poll. Would Dan lose his job immediately if he was arrested for streaking across a field?
There's no way. I mean, you'd be fine. What? I mean, seriously? You make more than $1 million? I mean,
what's the best type of cheese is the question. What is the best type of cheese?
Question.
We all follow Andrew Marchand. What's the best type of cheese is the question.
What are we talking about here? For like a sandwich? Or are we talking about
I'm gonna
just
say
I want to eat
soup.
it by itself?
gonna say melted.
If you had to eat straight cheese, that's it.
It's a
Just
different game.
a slice, just a sliver of cheese.
But isn't American cheddar the best cheese?
No.
No. First off, a sharp cheddar is the best of the cheddar category.
You sound like someone that makes well under $1 million. Yeah.
Well, what are you guys out here with Gouda, with Limburger, with what? What are you guys doing here?
Mackin.
Yeah. Mackin.
Munster.
I like a Munster.
Ooh, a Munster.